Hey YouTube, this is Peggy Lu, Miss Who if you're nasty, and this is Peggy Lu Who Reads, or Peggy Lu Who Reads. Today I'm going to do that video that I was very excited about doing that pretty much is the reason why I created this channel, which is the anti-TBR tag. If you saw my introduction video, you know all about this video because I mentioned it twice. So recapping some of our previous lessons, tutorials, tips and tricks about BookTube. A TBR is a to be read, and so an anti-TBR is books that you have no plans on reading. And a tag on YouTube or on BookTube specifically is where a booktuber comes up with a theme for a video that they're going to do, and they will include usually a few questions with the tag that they answer as prompts to talk about the main theme of the tag, and then at the end they may say, and I'm tagging booktuber Abby and booktuber Ben and booktuber Janelle. And so this tag, the anti-TBR tag, was created by a booktuber, Nicole, in her books. Whenever a booktuber does the booktube tag, it's always sort of polite to give credit where credit is due and to cite the creator of the tag. I will be including a link in the description to Nicole's video. Also, since I'm new to BookTube, I was not tagged into this video specifically by anybody to do it. I just wanted to. That's also totally fair game for anyone. You don't have to be tagged in order to participate. This is sort of a very open community and anybody could do it. And for this video, I copied the questions onto a Google Doc, and I'm going to read from it. A lot of people, when they did this, they just came up with it off the top of their head, but like honestly, it was something that I looked at the questions ahead of time and I realized I was going to have to write notes for myself because I was never going to remember. But yeah, so this is the anti-TBR tag, and buckle your seatbelts. It's about to get spicy. Not really, I mean. So let's see, did I hit all of the points that I wanted to hit? Yes, I did. Okay, so question number 1 is a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. So a couple of books that I included here are a couple actually that I have seen booktubers talk about recently. And I was really like scouring my brain trying to think of like, what's a book that everybody loves that I don't want to read? Usually, a lot of times when people really love a book and I think that I'm not going to like it, I actually will go ahead and read it just because that's how I am. I like to have an actual first-hand knowledge and a basis for my opinion of not liking something as opposed to just avoiding it. But sometimes you just hear about books and you think, yeah, it's not my bag. So one of those is a book called A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Hanya Yanagihara. I think I'm saying that right. But so A Little Life is a book that I've seen several booktubers speak about and recommend, but without a doubt, everyone who recommends it also points out that it's sort of emotionally brutal. And I believe it was Emily Fox even said that it was a bit like trauma porn. No, thank you. I'm good. Cool. Sort of a similar book, and it's funny, they actually have similar covers. I might like put the covers up here in the corner. I don't own these books because I don't plan on reading them. But is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Another book that I've just heard is just really emotionally, you know, fraught and covers a lot of trauma that I just am not interested in. And then Another one that actually I wanted to read, and then I sort of got wind that there were some trigger warnings for some things that like maybe I shouldn't read, or I just, for the time being, aren't interested in reading about those types of things, was I think it's called A Gilded Girl, but I don't remember who the author is. But it has a really great cover, and at first I thought it sounded like a really interesting premise, but upon doing a little bit more research and hearing more about it, I just thought it wasn't for me. And another book, finally, that is really popular with a lot of my friends who are really into horror. I'm not into scary movies. I can count probably on one hand the number of scary movies that I've seen, and also a lot of movies that people think aren't even really scary, I am terrified of, so I'm just not interested in. But one book that falls into the category of horror that I have no interest in reading is It by Stephen King. Just from what I've seen of trailers of either of the adaptations of it, I'm just, no thanks. No thanks. And I'm not one of those people that has a clown problem. I don't think clowns are particularly scary. But I'm just not interested in It by Stephen King. I did read Pet Sematary when I was in high school. That was fine. You know. So the next question is a classic book or author you don't have an interest in reading. War and Peace by Tolstoy is what I put down. It's so long. And I just, Russian literature, I don't think most classics I would probably give a shot to, although I think that he is kind of a reprehensible person, or we would say problematic now. Ernest Hemingway, I don't really have much interest in reading his novels in general, although I actually kind of like his writing style, which is hard, but I probably wouldn't read much of his, or many of his novels. I've read some of his short stories and whatnot for school things, and like I said, I kind of like his writing style, but I don't have any interest in picking up any of his books. But I've read many classics. I tend to gravitate more towards classics written by women, so Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, and horror that I do like, actually really loved Frankenstein, which I read for the first time by Mary Shelley last year. This is supposed to be a video about books that I don't like, and here I just keep going on about the ones I do. An author whose books you have no interest in reading, or sub question, a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. So I came up with a short list of these. So first off on my list is E.L. James, the author of 50 Shades of Grey. No thanks. I am unabashedly a fan of smut, but like just everything I've heard about those books is that they're not really written very well, and that they misrepresent the BDSM community, which is, you know, not my community, but like, why should anybody's community be misrepresented? And that they're just really glorifying an abusive relationship and trying to paint it as a BDSM relationship. And also the movie sucked. So there you go. I know usually the movie is not a good indication, but whatever. Here we are. It's my booktube. Fight me. The other one that I mentioned, that I listed, is the author that around booktube is been cunningly renamed She Who Will Not Be Named. I read Harry Potter series of books. I wasn't that impressed. I'm not in that age group. I didn't grow up with them, so I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, I probably will never read another book of hers again. It's easy for me because, like I said, I was not a huge fan of Harry Potter. Orson Scott Card, who wrote Ender's Game. Sci-fi, I hear nothing but the worst things about him, and so I have no interest in reading his book. And another is L. Ron Hubbard. An author, moving on. An author you have read a couple of books from and have decided their books are not for you. First I have Joyce Carol Oates, who is probably one of the more prolific authors in American literature. I feel like she just puts out books, like she sneezes and books come out. She gets out of bed in the morning and just like opens the sheets and there's pages flying everywhere. But yeah, I read a couple of her books. I mean, you know, been assigned to her books in school and yada yada, and you know, I just I don't have super negative opinions. I just don't care. And then another one I thought of was Anne Rice. I read Interview with the Vampire when I was in high school, I think, because that was around the time that Interview with the Vampire was adapted into the movie with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and Antonio Banderas. And it was very popular at the time, and so I read it, and then I think I read The Vampire Lestat after that, and then I just lost interest. Oh, and I guess we could also include Stephanie Meyer in that list. I guess she also could be called problematic, maybe. I don't know. The story about me reading the Twilight series is that someone handed them to me and said, here, read these. I need someone else to have read them so that I can talk to them about how awful these books are. Call me when you get to the point in book 3 that you want to throw the book across the room. And the person that handed me those books rightfully predicted the moment that I would want to throw the book across the room in book 3. And also, those are not well written at all. And I understand if you were of an age and that was like a thing, fine. But I was not of that age and they're not well written. I fight me on that. Fight me. A genre you have no interest in, or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. I am not into Westerns, and I am not into like war, sort of set in war novels, which both of these are things that my dad would have been into, and so they were around when I was growing up and, you know, as an adult visiting my parents, but yeah, they're just not my thing. A book you have bought but will never read. This can be a book you have unhauled or returned to the library unread. So there is a small collection in my possession of Tom Clancy books. There is a story behind this, and maybe someday I will do a whole video about that story. But I just got through saying that I'm not really into like war novels, and I would place Tom Clancy into that. But I came into possession of these books and I thought, well, maybe I'll read one just so I can say that I've done it, and I never did. And somehow I started collecting them inadvertently. So, but I will probably never read them. And the other is I Own the Help by Catherine Stockett. It was one of those things where it was very popular and I was seeing it everywhere and I bought it, and then I just never got around to reading it. And the more that I know about it now, I'm just not all that interested in it. So a series you have no interest in reading, or a series you started and have DNF'd. I actually have 2 that I started and will not complete, and then 2 that I will not start. I'm just not into it. So the first one is the Game of Thrones series by George R.R. Martin. I read the first one while I was on vacation. I actually bought it at the airport in Mexico City. And so that is why I still own it, because it's got this sticker on it that's the price in pesos, which I thought was kind of cool. And I actually have the second book, which someone gifted to me. More like they had it on their shelf and they weren't going to read it, and so they gave it to me, and I thought, well, maybe I'll read the second one. But honestly, they're just really long. I know that the series isn't finished. I know that George R.R. Martin is writing them slower than slower than fuck. And I know that I didn't like the TV show, so there you go. I'll just put that there. The next one, The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I devoured a few of those books, probably like the first 3 or 4 or 5 of them for a time. They got really repetitive, and just at one point I started reading something else, and then when I went back I just realized like I couldn't remember which one I had read and which one I hadn't read yet, because they're all so repetitive, so I just sort of gave up on them. And then later I sort of found out that she was somewhat problematic and may have had some like plagiarism issues. So yeah, Cassandra Clare, The Immortal Instruments. And I haven't read any of her other series either. It seems like she's just putting out like new series that are spin-offs now, but again, I'm not interested. There is a series that is called The Selection Series by Kiera Cass. Something magical bachelor. I'm not into that show, The Bachelor. I have tried to watch the most recent season because a friend of mine tried to talk me into it, but it just lived up to exactly what I thought it was going to be, which was just like a whole bunch of drama for no apparent reason that apparently some people think is entertaining, and I'm not interested in it. And then finally, as a series that I probably won't read, is the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I started watching the show and didn't like it, and so now I just don't think I'll probably read the books. Although my mom's read the books and she said that the books are better than the show, which makes sense. And she also said that the books were not as violent as the show, which is kind of why I didn't like it. I just thought it was a little bit too gory. Which is similar to the reason why I didn't like Game of Thrones. Just too gory. Question number 8. A new release you have no interest in reading. So there's this book that I keep seeing everywhere, and it's got this really gorgeous cover. Again, I will probably put it over here, which is called Hummingbird Salamander by Jeff Vandermeer. It's got a really beautiful cover, and so it definitely catches the eye, and so I've seen it a couple places. I picked it up, I've read the back of it, and went, and set it down. So I don't really have any interest in reading that. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that you picked it up. Tell me that you love it. I haven't actually seen anybody cover it on BookTube yet. So, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, as of right now, I just can't get into it. I don't even remember what it's about right now. So that means I'll probably walk into another store and see it on a bookshelf and pick it up and then go, oh yeah, that's why I didn't want to read it. And then finally, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I haven't read any of Taylor Jenkins Reid's other books, but I have a couple of them on my want to read list from Goodreads. But this one, I just, I saw it and just couldn't get into the concept. It seems like a kind of like a beach read type of thing. And it's, I'm sort of known to taking like history books about Nazis to go read on beach vacations. So I don't know. I'm not feeling it. So that's what it is. So yeah, that was the last question. Yeah. So those are my anti-TBRs. Those are books that I have no intention of reading. And if you feel strongly about any of these books that I have mentioned, if any of them are your favorite books and you love them to death and you think that I am a fool and you want to fight me, that's what the comments are for. Either way, please like this video or thumb it down if you hated all of my opinions. That's okay. I don't care as long as you interact. I am up to 24 subscribers as of last check. I am a celebrity. No, I'm not. I'm really not. Don't quit your day job, kid. So yeah, so 24 subscribers. Thank you so much. If you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button, hit the little dingy bell so that you will get notified every time that you log on to YouTube that I have put up a new video, and leave a comment, say hi, Share this video with your friends and family. Say, hey, here's this weird chick who talks about books. I don't know, but she's got really terrible makeup. And until next time, read well. I'm gonna start over because I don't know if I did the thing. Consult the old script. And so whenever a booktuber does the book tag, or does the tag, the booktube tag, to include plagiarism. Hit the little dingy bell thing that will make it so that every time that you log on to